Ich probe einfach.
1, 2, 3.
Ok. Prima.
1, 2, 3. Pronti? Okay. String spacing. Hello, we talk about string spacing. Now, what is string spacing actually all about, and why do I consider it important? As a musician, probably you didn't really think about it too much, but you as a musician are the one who is immediately feeling something. And from the point of view from violin makers, I have the impression that they underestimate your sensibility, you musician, regarding this. And what I want to talk about is the instrument itself is very, very picky when it comes to this, because it is a little bit about a question like, you know, for me, let's say the Golden Gate Bridge, you know, and then there is and these, yeah, and then here there's these things which keep the bridge, and all this is hanging, you know, a little bit. The violin or our string instruments have a little bit something to do with something like this bridge. In the violin, the concept how it is made is very, very precise, how the pressure is applied on the entire instrument. Yeah. So on one side you have these ropes, these strings on the upper nut, 4 of them. Then it goes to the bridge, then into the tailpiece, then it goes all around the tail gut end pin, right? So you have it lined up, and this is what we're talking about. So when I get the instrument in my hands, and people are complaining about sound matters and problems, and it's not equilibrated, and here it's open and here it's closed, or things like this. And then first thing which I see on the double bass is the upper nut, on the cello is the upper nut, on the violin it's easier to see everything in a very short moment. The string spacing on the upper nut and on the bridge is an important part of the whole thing. So now, in the very beginning it's a little bit difficult for a musician to know it exactly if the string spacing is perfect, because just think of the problem which you have 4 strings. Okay, so let's make it bigger. Now I made them all the same size, okay? And this is more or less how they're lined up on your cello bridge or also on the upper nut. But what I want to get your attention is that here there is like a circle, right? And then I look in front, I don't see actually the string spacing than here. Here the same distance appears, when you look at it, larger than here. I don't know if you get this immediately, but because it is round, our appearance of these 2 strings seems to be closer. But as soon as I twist the violin like this and I look at it, this one seems larger than this distance. Yeah? And this makes the whole thing quite tricky. Or to you who look at the instrument without any measuring, it's difficult to judge it. Only on the worst cases you can imagine, you see it with free eye, because we have another option to make the whole thing even more difficult. Which would be, let's say this is our G string, or let's say the 4th string. Here is the 3rd string, 2nd, 1st string. Okay. Now our 1st string on every instrument is our highest instrument, except you are left-handed, then the other way around. By the way, I also make left-handed hands instruments. It's interesting, they sound completely the same and customers are really happy. Now, let's say this blue spot here is my E string, which has maybe a diameter of 0.15 millimeters, very thin, steel, okay? So then this one, which is like, now here I don't know the measurements, but let's say it's 0.708 millimeters. So then I have to make this, if this is 0.1, so I have to make this one much bigger, right? Probably something like this, okay? And then we have the D string, which is more or less like the A string, maybe a little bit more. And the G string, depending what kind of material it is, if it is same material than this is in this one, then it would be even bigger, okay? Or it is even thinner in case, let's say, this one is like on the cello, the Wolfram 4th string, it might be thinner than the silver 3rd string. Could be. Now, by looking now again, as I told you, from the front, it appears to your eye that this distance here is larger than this one, and this string seems far too close. Yeah? But it is only an optical impression. Now, years ago, I don't remember if it was in New York, in a workshop, or if it was in Tokyo. There was a German guy. He made some templates for the bridge curve and string spacing and things like this. And he really did a great job, and I still have them and I still love to use them. But his string spacing was actually considered that he, as the word string spacing says already, he only measured the free space here and tried to make it the same, yeah? Which is very nice that he did such a great job, but now after many years that I thought over it, and now it's my outcoming regarding string spacing here on YouTube, just for you, I think it's not correct. Because the tension of the strings of an E string or a G string, the strings are made in a way that the tension is the same on every string, and the string companies, I'm really grateful that they're researching all the time, do everything in order that the pressure from one string to another, from the highest to the deepest, is equal, which is very good for the instrument and for the whole concept of our hanging bridge or our instrument. So, what counts is actually that only the center of the string is what counts. And this is the point which for me is the point which really counts. And this is the string spacing which counts for me. As in Italy they say I'm a German. For a German they even say with disgusting accent that I'm a kruko. This one has to be exactly the same. Yeah? And if this one is the same, the appearance is pretty messed up. Okay? Because the appearance is very close, this one, closer here, and the E string seems to be far away. But if you now show up with your bow, let's take a new color, let's say green is the color of your bow, your touching point is just like a, I don't know how you call this, tangente in German. Tangent. Yeah, tangent. So it comes here, to the string, in this point, in this point, and in this point, and in this point. And for you, what counts if you close your eyes and you attach the bow like this or like this, is actually this point. And so, what for me is the center is for you a little bit more outside the touching point of the bow on the string. Before you think about it, just look at your instrument and try to measure the center of the E string to the center of the A string. Turn a little bit the instrument, the center of the A string to the D string, the center of the D string to the C string, and then these should be the same. And if this is perfectly done, it looks a little bit in the first point, a little bit difficult, a little bit not perfect, but it is perfect. Okay? And I believe that a perfect instrument, a perfect sound, is only created if this is made as perfect as possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's an interesting point of view. It also makes your difference on the instrument. Have fun. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.